Skies with patchy clouds, the high 89. All day, every day. News, weather, and traffic on News Radio WFLA Orlando. I'm Drew Shannon.
Get your free credit scorecard today, even if you're not a Discover customer. It includes your FICO credit score, and checking your scorecard won't hurt your credit. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
What's your case worth? Dial pound 529 on your cell. Pound law, that's all.
News Radio WFLA wants to help with a chance at $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword couch to 200-200. That's COUCH to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest.
We know times are tough.
We're doing our best to make it. We're pulling through.
It's been hard.
We also know winning $1,000 could really help you and your family.
I have 2 children, and that will help tremendously.
It's going to be a huge help.
Who couldn't use $1,000?
So we've got up to 12 chances every day to text and win $1,000 to help with your bills.
It's an easy contest to enter, and it looks like it's paid off.
It's easy. You listen to the radio for a keyword, and you text it.
Your next chance to win $1,000 is coming soon.
Beyond Reason Radio.
What will the new normal look like after this pandemic has passed? That's going to be the main question I have for you on the show today, because it really depends on how we react. It depends what they do in Washington. It depends who we elect in the next presidential election. It depends what we do next. Some possibilities, some very good, some very, very bad. And I'll tell you why. On this edition of Beyond Reason Radio, yes, I am your voice of reason, Michael Yaffee. We're on until 8 p.m. tonight here on News Radio WFLA Orlando. If you miss any of the show and catch the podcast, of course, anywhere podcasts are available. Something else interesting that happened over Central Florida.
Yes.
And Tom Benson is joining me in the studio, in the control room, by the way, producing. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing fine. We had a flyover today, finally. I think we're the last big city in Florida to get the flyover. I mean, they had Jacksonville, Miami, and finally us.
And I think this was different than what Jacksonville, Miami. I think didn't they have the Blue Angels in Jacksonville and Miami or something? Uh-huh. Yeah, we didn't get the Blue Angels. But it was funny when I was hosting the morning show, filling in for Bud and Alan was still here. He talked about the Blue Angels going to be in Jacksonville and then Miami, and I made a face and he couldn't understand. And I said afterwards, well, they just skipped right over us.
I know.
They went to Jacksonville and then we'll forget Orlando.
Well,
and you went to Miami.
Yeah, right. You would think that if they had to go to Miami, they at least give us a flyover on the way down.
You would think, but for some reason, so they did it today. It was F-15 jets with the Florida National Guard. They're from the Guard's 125th Fighter Wing in Jacksonville.
Sure, always impressive stuff, I'll tell you.
I didn't get to see it, though, and I actually went out to look, and I had some neighbors go out. I live in Altamont, and I could hear it. I heard it, and I was like, oh, it's coming. I hear it. And
well,
then
the trouble is when you heard it, it's already passed.
I guess. But I had neighbors out there looking too, and they were looking in the direction, and they heard it and couldn't see it.
Well,
kind of a bummer.
I'm sure there'll be other opportunities.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to air shows before, and you see jets like F-15s or the F-35s, which are amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
And
sometimes they're so low you can see the afterburner, coming out of their engines. You can see the fire, and it's really something else.
Yeah, it's amazing. It gives you, it's like watching the space shuttle when that would go up. It's similar to that. It gets your patriotic juices flowing. You just really feel proud of your country when you see something like that.
And the first thing we say is, our tax dollars at work.
Yeah, for something awesome, not something bad. So I was thinking, there's so many different things I can talk about today. We are going to get into the Michael Flynn thing a little bit more, because gaining steam, even though some of the mainstream outlets are flat ignoring it.
Yeah.
Which
CNN has nothing on the website about it, so I assume they're not doing anything on the air either. How can you ignore that?
I don't know. Just imagine, eventually they'll cover it, but then they'll do it to bash Trump somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine if it was reversed. Just imagine if that happened under the Trump administration, something like that. We'd be talking impeachment right now.
Oh, you bet.
But because
we'd be walking around Washington D.C. with funny looking hats on our heads, and
they're going to do that anyway. So, but I will get into that later in the show. I have a couple of thoughts on that. The reaction to that is very interesting. But I want to start with what I'm worried about. And it's no surprise that I'm worried about this because I've talked about it before. But I'm really nervous about the new normal we are creating with this coronavirus response.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been nervous since the beginning, but I'm getting even more nervous because in recent days, I think it was yesterday actually, Nancy Pelosi introduced a $3 trillion coronavirus spending bill. It's like the CARES Act 2 or something. Wasn't the other one the CARES Act?
It's the HEROES Act.
Oh, this one's the HEROES Act.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, of course they're going to give it the name the HEROES Act because if you vote against it,
yeah.
Well, you hate our heroes? Tom Benson, you hate our heroes? So they call it the HEROES Act. $3 trillion this thing will cost. And do you have the cut of Pelosi? I don't know if I had that first, but let's go ahead and play that one first. This was some of Pelosi introducing this bill. I don't even think they've really introduced the bill. They're just kind of highlighting what they want, and there's going to be negotiations. The Senate Republicans have said it's dead on arrival, but she held a press conference talking about it. Here it is.
We must all take an extra moment to understand the numbers we are seeing, which are the most overwhelming in our lifetimes. These numbers require action that we've never had to take before. There are those who said, let's just pause. But the families who are suffering know that hunger doesn't take a pause, the rent doesn't take a pause, the bills don't take a pause, the hardship of losing a job or tragically losing a loved one doesn't take a pause. This is an historic challenge and therefore momentous opportunity for us to meet the needs of the American people to save their lives, their livelihoods, and our democracy.
Oh, there's so many things I could talk about there. The first thing I want to mention is she says Republicans want to take a pause because that's basically what Mitch McConnell said. We kind of need to take a pause right now and think about what we're passing.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well,
let's pass the bill and read what it's all about.
Yeah, we remember that. But it's, well, your rent doesn't take a pause. Your bills don't take a pause. Your hunger doesn't take a pause. Well, if that's true, then it's time to open up the economy. Because that's what the government has been telling us to do, is it not? They have been telling the people, we the people, to take a pause and stay home. And people like me behind this microphone were warning that your rent doesn't take a pause, your bills don't take a pause. I've been saying that we can't close down too much because the economy could collapse. But they were telling us, well, too bad, take a pause. So, of course, then their solution is, well, you take a pause, but the government's going to act, and we're going to just throw money at you. The other thing that's very interesting is this is the opposite of what Nancy Pelosi did with the last bill. So when the PPP funding, the small business loan funding, ran out, Republicans wanted to pass an extension, more money for it. And who talked about taking a pause? Who delayed that funding? Oh, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. So all of a sudden now she wants to take a pause. And of course, this is all to save democracy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that we're going to create a new normal. I want to talk more about that in a sec. But of course, Chuck Schumer, also Senate minority leader, talking about trying to pass this bill, the HEROES Act. Here's what he said.
The Republican Party right now, from Donald Trump to Mitch McConnell, is sort of like Herbert Hoover. when the stock market crashed, Herbert Hoover said, we don't need to do anything, let the private sector work this out. And that caused, lengthened, and deepened the Great Depression. Let us hope that the public need and the public pressure will get the Republicans to understand what we need to do to get this country out of the greatest health and economic crisis we've had since the Depression.
This is what Democrats always use. Every time there's some kind of crisis, they go back to FDR and the Great Depression and talk about how great FDR was in the Depression and how Herbert Hoover did nothing, which of course isn't historically accurate. Herbert Hoover was a progressive Republican. He wasn't someone who just wanted to do nothing. In fact, they passed tariffs that made it worse. But to say we need Roosevelt-like action, that action didn't help us get out of the Great Depression either. But the first thing I thought about when Chuck Schumer said that, oh, well, Republicans are like Herbert Hoover. They want to do nothing. How much spending have we passed already? What, some $3 trillion already before this bill? That is more than Roosevelt could contemplate in his wildest dreams at the time to do. So the history is wrong, but his point is a lie. His point is wrong because the Republicans have done something. They possibly have done too much, and that's why Mitch McConnell wants to pause. You have to have done something first before you pause, because we have to say, okay, is what we're doing working? Mm-hmm. Or are we going to end up creating more problems than we intended? Like raising unemployment so much that people don't want to go back to work. Oh, wait, that did happen in the bill already. We're going to continue that problem? So, of course, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, he spoke on the Senate floor about this, and he's exactly right. Here's what he said.
It is the wrong approach when a senior Democrat calls this pandemic, quote, a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. It's the wrong approach when former Vice President Biden calls this tragedy, quote, an incredible opportunity to fundamentally transform the country. The American people don't need a far-left transformation. They just need a path back to historically prosperous and optimistic moment that they had built for themselves until about 12 weeks ago. The American people don't need a far-left transformation. They just need a path back to the historically prosperous and optimistic moment they had built for themselves until about 12 weeks ago. American workers don't need Washington to inflict some far-left extreme makeover of our country. They need us to get rid of obstacles that might stand in their way.
He's exactly right. What's going on here is not just a temporary fix to get us through a crisis. What's going on here is a fundamental transformation. That's why I'm discussing to you what is going to be the new normal. What does the country look like after this? And there's some clues I'm getting from the reaction to all of this that suggests that the new normal is going to be a much bigger welfare state, much bigger debt, mass unemployment, and economic stagnation. And we're going to wonder why. Why can't the economy get back and running? Before this, it seemed like everything was going. It's exactly what they said during, the Great Depression under Roosevelt. Under Roosevelt did all this government action. Yay. And then there was still double-digit unemployment. And they had another deep recession in the middle of the Depression. So it was slowly getting out. And then there was another, it went back down again. And people were like, why is this happening? Why isn't this working? Because you made it worse. And they needed World War II to get the country out of the problem. I want to discuss this more because some of the reaction I get to this and some of the reaction I'm seeing in the media when you discuss stuff like this is really telling, and it's really disturbing. And I don't think they understand the implications of what they're saying. We'll get to that. Plus, we have a voice of reason of the day and much more. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes.
Shopping for a diamond? Only one jeweler here has over 30 plus years in diamond wholesaling, manufacturing, and retailing. And that's Keith LeClaire at International Diamond Center.
I've been in all phases of jewelry manufacturing, and all that knowledge, all that ability that we have acquired over the years now has brought together for you as a consumer at the bottom line price.
Make no mistake, this is Orlando's direct diamond importer.
A lot of people claim they've been in the wholesale business. A lot of people claim they've been in manufacturing. They don't know 2 cents about it.
Even today, Keith supplies diamonds to wholesalers who then sell to jewelry stores all over the country. And he's known worldwide as a major player in the world diamond market.
It's because of the relationships and the contacts that we have developed over 35 years. Our reputation is impeccable. Our desire to please our customer is the utmost. You hear all these jewelers that make these outlandish claims. The biggest, the best, the lowest, the largest. My response, go shop them. Then come to IDC. The proof is in the pudding.
International Diamond Center, 4 Orlando locations.
Home is where the heart is. But you can also get stuck there when your car won't start. I don't know about you, but that sound makes me break out in a sweat. But it doesn't have to. As part of your AAA car battery service, one of our skilled technicians are always ready to test, diagnose, and handle your battery problem. At home, at work, anywhere. And if you need a battery, they can install it on the spot. That's right. You don't have to shop around for hours or install it yourself. AAA provides you with the convenience of coming to you, wherever you are. A reliable and fast service when you need us most. Check out our website at AAA.com/car battery service to get a quote or even sign up to be a AAA member. And remember, AAA battery service delivers and installs at home, at work, anywhere. It's easy. Call 877-731-3321 and you can speak to one of the team. We're here for you.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. Whoa. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate 5 times the national average. That's right, 5 times, as represented by 5 times more singers. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA member FDIC.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. Publishers Clearinghouse is ready to award $5,000 a week for life in just days. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. Don't miss this last chance to win $5,000 a week for life on June 30th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter now at PCH.com. Entries due 6/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Broadcasting from the Mills Air Studios. For all your AC needs, go to millsair.com to schedule an appointment. The voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason is back now.
Well, yes, you needed a voice of reason. Everyone needs a voice of reason right now. And what do you know? Here I am, just for you. Yes, I am Michael Yaffee, your voice of reason, here on Beyond Reason Radio. Tom Benson is producing as well. We're talking about how the Democrats are trying to create a new normal that will exist after this coronavirus pandemic. That's a little bit disturbing. You know, the Wall Street Journal, the editorial board there, has been really good about this pandemic in their coverage. Mm-hmm. They were one of the first ones to really come out and say, we probably shouldn't shut down the entire economy because it's going to be devastating. And they were right. And they had an editorial this week. It said, the economic lockdown catastrophe. Here's a part of it I want to read for you. The crowd that demands the economy remain locked down until there's a vaccine, miracle therapy, or daily testing of everyone in the country seem to think the government can replace the private economy. That's a fantasy, and they're betraying the very low and middle-income workers they claim to represent. They're exactly right. And that's what people are expecting now. People are expecting the government to replace the private economy right now.
Or send me money.
Yeah, which is basically the government replacing the private economy when it's sending you money. When I bring stuff like this, I always see response from people. When I say this cannot last, this is not sustainable. And this is why states are starting to open up, because they see the writing on the wall. They're realizing this is not sustainable. And even if they try to keep this going, I think LA County's trying to keep this going.
Sure.
Some states are trying to keep it going. Michigan. People are just not going to follow it. They're just not going to put up with it. Understandably. So that's why a lot of the governors are like, well, we have to open up because it's going to happen whether we like it or not.
The Wisconsin State Supreme Court just overruled the governor of Wisconsin who had ruled that the lockdown continue. They say you can't do that. It's unconstitutional.
Yeah. Eventually the American people are going to have had enough of this. I mean, when you have, where was it where they had like a robot that had like dog legs?
That was in China, I believe.
Was it in China that was like warning people to social distance?
Yeah.
Imagine stuff like that in America. They had helicopters go over the beaches in California and putting on the loudspeaker, stay off the beaches. In America, Americans are going to put up with that. They're just not. But every time I bring this up here in the state of Florida, there are always those people that say, instead of reacting to what I'm saying, they're saying, well, what really needs to happen is DeSantis needs to fix the unemployment system, the unemployment benefits system. This is DeSantis's fault because the system, which wasn't built for anything like this. I'm not saying it's good. It's been a big problem, but it was never built for this. But they're saying he needs to fix the system so we can get our unemployment checks. That's the real solution. That's not a real solution. That is a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid that can't last very long. It's not sustainable. Yet there are people out there that believe that the government right now, that everyone should stay home for months on end. And well, yeah, if you can't afford your bills, the government should just send you checks. And these people don't understand, one, how that could destroy an economy in the long run because you're basically getting rid of a lot of production in the economy. But they don't understand that this is not how an economy works. A functioning economy cannot work this way. And yet they're believing the fantasy. And they're thinking, well, if we just fix the unemployment problem and the government just sends me checks, oh, then we'll be okay. That's really the solution. And that's really the problem. No. That's not the problem. Businesses are still going under. People are still losing their jobs. An economy cannot function. It's interdependent on so many different things that are starting to break down because we're being forced to stay in our homes. That cannot just come back up randomly one day. It's not how an economy works. Then, of course, you have some Democrats out there who say we should be sending more checks. Senator Kamala Harris tweeted this. Apparently Tom Benson's favorite senator. Bills come in every single month during the pandemic, and so should help from our government. She has endorsed a plan called the Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act, which would send $2,000 per month to Americans who make less than $120,000 per year. There's a lot of Americans that don't make $2,000 a month. They would be getting more than what they usually make. Married couples would receive $4,000 per month, as well as $2,000 for each child.
I want that job.
And I'm getting this from Chris Talgo on The Hill. It's an opinion piece. Really, this is what he says. He goes, and the checks would be sent for up to 3 months after the coronavirus crisis ends.
And who declares that, huh?
That's what he said. You're right. This raises an interesting point. When and how will we know the crisis has ended and the payments will be stopped? This alone should raise one's eyebrows. And this is what worries me. When I talk about the new normal, if you just start sending out big checks like this to every American, how do we get out of that? Yeah. Politicians are never going to want to stop sending those checks. Sure. And you will have created universal basic income. You will have encouraged mass unemployment.
That's what they want anyway.
Yeah, a giant welfare state, which will lead to economic stagnation. And all of a sudden, we're like Greece.
Vote for me, and I'll take care of you forever.
It's their dream. That's why McConnell said this is about fundamental transformation.
Sure.
That's what they're doing. And even if that's not their intention, that's going to be the result. So you're going to have massive debt and massive government dependency, a massive welfare state that will lead to economic stagnation, a rise in crime, all these issues. And then 2 years from now, we're going to say, man, we did all this government action, and when the economy isn't coming back, the virus is gone and the economy isn't coming back. Why? Why are we like Greece now? This is why. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you heart Beyond Reason Radio, listen to the Beyond Reason Radio podcast on iHeartRadio. Just download the iHeartRadio app and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Right decision. Because at the heart of any strong relationship is honesty, transparency, and a sincere interest in you as a couple and understanding the future that ring represents.
More than anything, the joy I get is helping them understand this is just the beginning of their relationship. Buying the diamond is one thing, but it's about commitment. Marriage is not 50-50. It's 100%. You both have to give 100%. That's the way a marriage will stay together and work.
International Diamond Center, caring about you way beyond the 4 C's.
The commitment you make is worth more to me than the diamond you buy from me.
5 convenient Orlando locations.
The Mudman here from Mills Air. Now is the time for preventative maintenance on your AC unit because the Florida heat and humidity will be back soon, and Mills Air will get you ready with their $69.95 Bud Special. For just $69.95, you get a 20-point precision tune-up that'll wind up saving you money. Mills Air, in business for 28 years, services all brands, and they're a certified carrier dealer, which can save you even more. Ask for the Mills Air $69.95 Bud Special. Call 407-277-1159. Online, millsair.com.
If there's one thing that the class of 2020 has learned, it's to expect the unexpected. So to help them on their journey, iHeartRadio is launching Commencement, a new podcast featuring speeches from the biggest names. Commencement is in partnership with the 2020 census, which gives you the opportunity to help shape the future of our country for the next 10 years. Complete the census at 2020census.gov. Then listen to iHeartRadio's new podcast, Commencement. Speeches drop May 15th on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Getting ready to go boating is just as important as the safety precautions you take while on the water. This National Safe Boating Week, make sure you have your safety equipment and know how to use it. Life jacket? Check. Whistle or horn? Check. Flares? Check. Personal locator beacon? Got it. These are just a few of the items to have prepared for the journey, regardless of your experience level. This message brought to you by the National Safe Boating Council and U.S. Coast Guard. Learn more at safeboatingcampaign.com.
We're here to take care of you. We're here to make sure you understand what you're buying and that you're getting the best you can get for your money that you're spending.
When International Diamond Center owner Keith LeClaire talks about caring for his customers, it's not just words, it's his passion.
I will not allow you to make a mistake. Trust me.
That's why at IDC, we take the time to educate you, to show you the inside secrets of the diamond business, to give you the tools you need to make the right decision. Because at the heart of any strong relationship is honesty, transparency, and a sincere interest in you as a couple and understanding the future that ring represents.
More than anything, the joy I get is helping them understand this is just the beginning of their relationship. Buying the diamond is one thing, but It's about commitment. Marriage is not 50-50. It's 100%. You both have to give 100%. That's the way a marriage will stay together and work.
International Diamond Center, caring about you way beyond the 4 C's.
The commitment you make is worth more to me than the diamond you buy from me.
5 convenient Orlando locations.
WFLA and iHeartMedia Orlando want to help keep you informed as things start to open back up in Central Florida. Visit keeporlandogoing.com and check out all the places that are now open where you can get takeout food, places to get your car serviced, dining deals, and other helpful info. You can also submit your business to be added to the directory and help spread the word. KeepOrlandoGoing.com, powered by Contender Claims Consultants. Check them out at ContenderClaims.com.
This is Orlando's Smart Talk Radio. Beyond Reason Radio continues now.
All right, I want you to close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving, and keep them open. But just envision something for me with your eyes open if you're driving. But if you're not driving, if you're listening on your smart speakers, close your eyes for a second. I want you to imagine that instead of Obama calling for an investigation into the incoming Trump administration with their incoming national security advisor. Imagine if Trump decided to do that and it decided to be a part of unmasking of people in the administration and their phone calls, which usually is illegal. Yeah, you got that in your head. It's not, imagine if Trump was doing it. Now I want you to imagine yourself turning on the TV and turning it to CNN or MSNBC or any of the news networks or opening the New York Times. What do you think would be all over those media outlets today? Yes, it would be impeachment too. Look what Trump did. We're going to talk more about the whole Michael Flynn controversy in a moment, because it's the hypocrisy of the whole situation that's fascinating to me. The reaction to it is fascinating to me. We'll get to that, but I just want to wrap up something here on the pandemic response. Senator Rand Paul spoke they had Dr. Fauci, the epidemiologist. He did a virtual testimony, I guess, to the Senate. Mm-hmm. And Senator Rand Paul got a lot of attention because he asked Fauci a question and also made a really interesting statement. Now, remember, Rand Paul is the only member of the Senate, I believe, who's actually had the virus that we know of.
And it's doctor to doctor.
And he is a doctor. You're right. So he, this is a couple minutes long here, but I want you to listen to this because this is my voice of reason of the day, because before he gets to his question of Dr. Fauci, what he says is reasonable and right, and I wish most of those in the Senate would say this. They didn't. They all grandstand and used it to bash Trump on the Democrat side, and of course Mitt Romney did as well. But here is what Rand Paul said.
With regard to going back to school, one thing that was left out of that discussion is mortality. I mean, shouldn't we at least be discussing what the mortality of children is? This is for Dr. Fauci as well. The mortality between 0 and 18 in the New York data approaches 0. It's not going to be absolutely 0, but it almost approaches 0. Between 18 and 45, the mortality in New York was 10 out of 100,000. So really, we do need to be thinking about that. We need to observe with an open mind what went on in Sweden, where the kids kept going to school. The mortality per capita in Sweden is actually less than France, less than Italy, less than Spain, less than Belgium, less than the Netherlands, about the same as Switzerland. But basically, I don't think there's anybody arguing that what happened in Sweden is an unacceptable result. I think people are intrigued by it, and we should be. I don't think any of us are certain when we do all these modelings. There have been more people wrong with modeling than right. We're opening up a lot of economies around the U.S., and I hope that people who are predicting doom and gloom and saying, oh, we can't do this, there's going to be a surge, will admit that they were wrong if there isn't a surge, because I think that's what's going to happen. In rural states, we never really reached any sort of pandemic levels in Kentucky and other states. We have less deaths in Kentucky than we have in an average flu season. It's not to say this isn't deadly, but really outside of New England, we've had a relatively benign course for this virus nationwide. And I think the one size fits all that we're going to have a national strategy and nobody's going to go to school is kind of ridiculous. We really ought to be doing it school district by school district, and the power needs to be dispersed because people make wrong predictions. And really the history of this, when we look back, will be of wrong prediction after wrong prediction after wrong prediction, starting with Ferguson in England. So I think we ought to have a little bit of humility in our belief that we know what's best for the economy. And as much as I respect you, Dr. Fauci, I don't think you're the end all. I don't think you're the one person that gets to make a decision. We can listen to your advice, but there are people on the other side saying there's not going to be a surge and that we can safely open the economy. And the facts will bear this out. But if we keep kids out of school for another year, what's going to happen is the poor and underprivileged kids who don't have a parent that's able to teach them at home are not going to learn for a full year. And I think we ought to look at the Swedish model, and we ought to look at letting our kids get back to school. I think it's a huge mistake if we don't open the schools in the fall.
He's exactly right. Dr. Fauci is not the end-all, be-all, and that wasn't necessarily an insult to Fauci there. It was more of talking about the reaction by the mainstream media and the Democrats who make Fauci all end-all.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other ways to look at this. When history looks at this, I believe there's going to be two things. The economic catastrophe that was created by this will be studied a lot. But the biggest failure will be the fact that we didn't focus on protecting the nursing homes. This really, more than anything, has been a nursing home pandemic. Most of the deaths, the plurality of the deaths, vast majority of the deaths are the elderly.
80% 65 plus.
Yeah. And then a lot of those deaths were in the nursing homes. We could have saved thousands of lives if we were strategic about this and really focused on protecting the nursing homes. And history will judge these leaders for not doing that. That's my prediction. Now, moving on to the other big story of the day, Michael Flynn. A whole bunch of controversy here. Bill Barr and the Department of Justice decided that they want to drop the charges against him. Because originally he pled guilty to lying to the FBI. The documents came out, were declassified, that the FBI agents had nothing on him. Then Strzok, I believe, said, oh, well, why don't we use the Logan Act, which hasn't been used in like 100 years. And then we'll get in and question him. And then they didn't even think he lied. And then they said, okay, well, he did lie. And this was all a case of entrapment, trying to get him to commit a crime because they were after Trump. Whatever the motivations were, there's two possible motivations: just because they didn't like Trump and wanted to ruin him, or they just really believed that Trump was guilty and they were willing to bend the rules to get after Trump because of their preconceived bias. But the reaction to this by the Democrats is, of course, amazing. Because they're just coming out now and saying, oh, it's just conspiracy theory. In fact, I think the first cut up there I have is Joe Biden, right? He was on with ABC's George Stephanopoulos and was asked about this. And Stephanopoulos actually asked him some decent questions, believe it or not. But here was his response.
I know nothing about those moves to investigate Michael Flynn, number one. Number two, this is all about diversion. This is a game this guy plays all the time. The country is in crisis. We're in an economic crisis, a health crisis. We're in real trouble. He should stop trying to always divert attention from the real concerns of the American people. The American people are worried with good reason. He has acted irresponsibly from the very beginning. He continues to act irresponsibly. He hasn't done his job. This is all about diverting attention from the horrible way in which he has acted with what he did. We don't have coronavirus because of him, but we have the devastating impact of it because of his lack of a policy, his lack of action.
Of course, Biden hasn't had a plan either. He's had no plan to protect the nursing homes, which is, like we said, the majority of the deaths here. What's the next cut I have? Because this is the Democrat line now. I think is Schumer next?
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck Schumer was on MSNBC talking about this, and he basically said the same thing. This is just a conspiracy theory distraction. Here's what he said.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He has been very restrained. And I want to say this, Andrea. Instead of doing what they're supposed to do, Senate Republicans, coming up with answers to the COVID crisis, having oversight hearings to find out why small business isn't getting the lending, why we're not testing, why the hospitals are still hurting and not getting the money that they need. Instead of having hearings and oversight on that, they're coming up with these ridiculous conspiracy theories on Obama. And Chairman Johnson wants to go after Biden and this Hunter Biden conspiracy theory, which came from the Russians of all people. This is amazing to me. What alternative universe do they live in? Spending their time on discredited conspiracy theories against Obama, against Biden, instead of dealing with the greatest crisis we've had in America in decades and decades and decades. What universe are they in? What is in their heads?
Oh, just imagine if this was reversed. It's amazing to think about. You know, the beginning of that cut really bothers me. Can you go ahead, Tom Benson, I'm sorry, go back to that cut and just play like the first 10 seconds of it or
It's
something.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He has been very restrained. And I want to say this, Andrea.
Keep going.
Instead of doing what they're supposed to do, Senate Republicans, coming up with answers to the COVID crisis, oversight hearings to find out why small business isn't getting the lending, why we're not testing, why the hospitals are still hurting.
Okay, stop right there. We are testing. We're coming close to 3 million tests a week. So there are testing. If you're sick and you go to the doctor and they think you might have it, you get a test.
You betcha.
I'm getting text messages from my doctor's office. They're telling me we have the test. So there is testing. Oh, why aren't the hospitals getting the money they need? Because you shut them down. The reason why the hospitals are losing money isn't because they're overburdened by the pandemic. The reason why they're not getting the money is because you shut them down and they couldn't do the elective procedures and other stuff where they get the revenue. So all these things, oh, why isn't this happening? Well, we know why it's not happening. We don't need congressional investigations into that stuff. But we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can respond to coronavirus while also responding to something that seems like a pretty big scandal. And they would believe it's a big scandal if it were, you know, a Republican president that did it. Now, once again, the voice of reason on this is Rand Paul. You know, Rand Paul's got a new beard going.
Yes. Is it a beard or is it whiskers? That's what I want to know. Gabby Hayes had whiskers. Karl Marx had a beard, as George Carlin would say.
It's kind of like a mixture, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a curly beard or something. It's a pandemic beard, I guess. And for some reason, this beard has brought him wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, my beard brings me wisdom, obviously. You hear it every time I'm behind the microphone.
All he needs is a flowing white robe and a sash made of gold.
Mm-hmm. The wise sage. But, I mean, he is the voice of reason today. He was earlier, and he is on this as well. Here's what he said about the whole Michael Flynn controversy.
You know, I've never heard of someone outside the government bringing charges against someone. I think that the government made a big mistake bringing these charges against General Flynn. We never should have been listening to his phone call, and we shouldn't have been trying to entrap him into or create a crime. They never thought he committed any crime. They brought him in to try to create a crime. What a terrible travesty of justice. This needs to be done with. I thought we were already done with it, and I surely hope that we are going to finally be done with it. But the ultimate thing for us in the legislature is we should not let these abuses of power happen again. And I'm pushing hard to make sure that we take this power away from government.
Exactly right. This is what happens when you give the government too much power. But even with as much power as they have, they went beyond their power. They bend to the rules. You know, sometimes the procedures when it comes to our criminal justice system can seem kind of cumbersome. But there's a reason for that. It's to protect the rights of the individual. And whatever the motivations were behind these FBI agents, they bent the rules and they abused their power. And that's a problem. And we should all be concerned about that, whether we're Democrats or Republicans. So should your cashier at the grocery store, when you pick up groceries, should they be paid $15 an hour? Starting minimum wage, $15 an hour. The Orlando Sentinel thinks so. We'll have to talk about that next and much more. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. Whoa. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate 5 times the national average. That's right, 5 times, as represented by 5 times more singers. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA member FDIC.
Home is where the heart is. But you can also get stuck there when your car won't start. I don't know about you, but that sound makes me break out in a sweat. But it doesn't have to. As part of your AAA car battery service, one of our skilled technicians are always ready to test, diagnose, and handle your battery problem. At home, at work, anywhere. And if you need a battery, they can install it on the spot. That's right. You don't have to shop around for hours or install it yourself. AAA provides you with the convenience of coming to you, wherever you are. A reliable and fast service when you need us most. Check out our website at AAA.com/car battery service to get a quote or even sign up to be a AAA member. And remember, AAA battery service delivers and installs at home, at work, anywhere. It's easy. Call 877-731-3321 and you can speak to one of the team. We're here for you.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. Publishers Clearinghouse is ready to award $5,000 a week for life in just days. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. Don't miss this last chance to win $5,000 a week for life on June 30th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter now at PCH.com. Entries due 6/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
Have you been lied to by Washington politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine? Hi, I'm Inc. Magazine bestselling author Brett Kitchen. And if you're over 55 with an IRA or 401k, I want to give you a free copy of my new book, Wealth Beyond Wall Street, because according to Time Magazine, Wall Street's 401ks have failed millions of Americans. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash years ago, I said enough. And since then, I discovered a way to grow money potential double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits. When the next market crash hits, you lose nothing. Call Wealth Beyond Wall Street now to get your free book and talk to a specialist to discover this little-known strategy to get potential double-digit growth during good years and never lose in the next market crash. Call 800-704-5353 to discover this asset that people like Walt Disney and JCPenney use to grow wealthy. Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling, no credit card required. Call 800-704-5353. That's 1-800-704-5353. 800-704-5353.
Complete coronavirus coverage every hour. News Radio WFLA Orlando. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. Beyond Reason Radio continues right now.
So, of course, the Orlando Sentinel editorial board had to respond to the coronavirus pandemic by pushing another government mandate in the state of Florida that's going to hurt small businesses. So, there's that. But here's what the editorial said. Want to thank grocery store clerks. Raise Florida's minimum wage to $15 an hour. So because they're still working and sometimes not the best conditions, they think, okay, need to raise their wage to $15 an hour. It says, the pandemic has broadened our definition of a hero. Joining the ranks of doctors, nurses, cops, and firefighters are grocery store cashiers, home health aides, restaurant servers, and fast food cooks. By the way, the best way we can support all of them is by continuing to go and use their businesses so they can keep a job. I just want to point that out and give decent tips, which I do. They've been going to work every day during the coronavirus outbreak to help keep us fed, stucked up, and healthy. The public has responded with words of thanks, generous tips, and appreciative sidewalk chalk art. It's all very nice, it says here in the editorial, but here's how Floridians can show their gratitude in a more tangible and enduring way. By voting yes on Amendment 2 this fall, which would gradually raise the state's minimum wage until it's $15 an hour by September 2026. After that, it would increase each year based on inflation. We can think of no better expression of support for essential workers than by agreeing they should have the dignity of a job that pays something akin to a living wage, because right now we're not even close to that, and yada, yada, yada. And my response to this on Twitter was, I'm sorry, but thinking that a teen's first job bagging groceries should pay $15 an hour is absurd. And of course, my Twitter troll responded, and these trolls are fundamentally dishonest, like they always are, trying to misconstrue what I said. Says, the photo from the article literally shows that many grocery workers are not teenagers. Never said they were. The idea that working at a grocery store has to be a first-time job is demeaning to thousands of Americans. I never said it has to be a first-time job, but the reality is it is a first-time job for a lot of people. The fact is, if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, those first-time workers will be paid $15 an hour. That teenager bagging groceries at Publix will be getting paid $15 an hour if you raise the minimum wage that high. That is fundamentally correct. And you know what these businesses are going to do if we start raising the wage too high? They're not going to hire those teenagers anymore. They're just going to stop hiring high schoolers, teenagers, and some young adults because they're not going to want to pay them $15 an hour. And why is that a problem? Well, let me give you an example. I know of someone who started as a bagger at Publix, making just a little above minimum wage when he was like 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
He's now in his early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
He's a manager and makes more than I do at Publix. Does really well for himself, is raising a family. He wouldn't have had that opportunity and wouldn't have been able to get to that point if he couldn't get a job there starting as a bagger when he was a teenager.
So in other words, you're saying instead of looking at it as a minimum wage job, look at it as an entry-level position.
Exactly. And look at it for an opportunity for young people. But by doing this, not only are you going to get rid of a lot of jobs, period, but a lot of opportunities for young people to enter the workforce is going to be gone. They're not going to hire them. They're going to hire less workers, and they're going to hire adults, and they're not going to give them raises. So I'm not saying that everyone that works at a grocery store should get paid under $15 an hour. Obviously, those who have worked there a while and worked their way up and have done well and are older should get paid more. But to make the starting point $15 an hour for everyone, including those young people, is absurd. It ruins opportunity, ruins economic growth, kills jobs, and it will be a big problem. But that's okay. We'll all just get checks from the government, because of the pandemic. They'll just keep doing that forever and ever. Create a giant welfare state. It is definitely beyond reason. Appreciate you listening to the show today. I should be back tomorrow at the same time. Like the Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter at Michael Yaffee. Listen to the podcast anywhere podcasts are available, and we'll catch you guys next time.